Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Launch Space. Today, we're going to be talking about Azure Maps. Specifically, we're going to talk about apps that you can use that map the indoors using something called Azure Maps Creator. And it's gone into GA recently, and we're going to bring on some of our guests to talk about it. Before we do, I just want to say welcome to those of you who are on the YouTube Microsoft developer channel on YouTube. If you want to interact with our speakers and myself today, please go over to aka.ms/learntv. I'll be monitoring things behind the scenes, and I will ask questions directly to our speakers today, and anything else you want to bring up as well. So that's aka.ms/learntv. There's the banner. There we go. Thank you. Let's bring out our guests. So today we have David Sanchez and Brendan Coe. Welcome, gentlemen. And I just want you to introduce yourselves and tell us a little about yourselves. We'll start with David.
Sure. Hi, Brian. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a senior program manager in the Azure Maps team, and very excited to share with you about all the different features that developers can get of this service. And yeah, here we have Brandon.
Cool.
Hey, I'm Brendan. I'm a program manager on the Azure Maps team for our Creator. And today I'll be demoing some of the capabilities of the Creator service.
Awesome. I've seen the previews. Looks pretty cool. So I guess we'll just jump right in and get started. I'll let David give us an intro to Azure Maps.
Absolutely. So here in my screen, I'm sharing basically a small presentation, few slides of what is Azure Maps. I will be focusing more on demos and code, but I will go through some of the features that you can find as part of Azure Maps. So the first thing is that Azure Maps is a developer platform. Azure Maps offers developers a set of APIs with different features. This service is built on top of partnership like TomTom and AccuWeather to offer these different set of features. It is basically a service that can be consumed in any Azure subscription, so it's basically an Azure native service. And this gives the advantage of consuming the service and pay for only what you use. So it's a flexible price. It's not committed on the amount of transactions that you have or something like that. Next, basically, to talk specifically about the different APIs and features that you can get, we have Maps Control, which is basically to embed maps in any specific application. This could be web or mobile, and that's the next part that I would like to talk here. We have the mobile and web SDKs. We have the routing capabilities. Basically from point to point or multiple basically addresses. We have the search to look for an address, look for basically the point of interest. It can take up to 10,000 address in a batch call, in a one single API call. We have the spatial operations feature, which is basically to create geofencing. We have the traffic data that is updated every minute, and it provides incident report. We have the time zone, and this is very useful, especially when you have like a routing that is in different time zones. You can calculate the routing based on the time zone of these specific locations. We have the geolocation feature, which provides basically the location of an IP address. This is great for the use case where you have content and you need to basically filter or plug some specific content depending on the country where the users are located. We have the weather service that is provided through AccuWeather. And this could bring historic weather data, the current data, and also forecast up to 45 days. We have the data storage, but we will talk about that in the Azure Maps Creator. We have the elevation service, which provides basically global coverage. It can give basically the elevation point from any point around the map. We have the Power BI integration. Actually, if you are using Power BI to visualize geolocation data, it's actually using Azure Maps on the back end. We have support for the government cloud. And obviously, we have Azure Maps Creator, which is the feature that we're going to focusing on in this session. So Azure Maps Creator is basically to have private map data in your service. This is mainly used for indoor mapping, so you can have basically maps of your buildings, transform your floor plans with the CAD files into the visualization of the maps, and get along of these features that I just mentioned with your private indoor map. All right. This service is basically built for enterprise. This means that it's basically coverage with the scalability, the security, and the privacy that companies needs in order to deploy this. This is based on the basically the Open Geospatial Consortium standards, and as long with basically all the Azure security coverage and compliance as well. This is, as I mentioned, it's a competitive and flexible pricing. And in fact, you can start today for free. It is basically, this service offers a free tier, so you can start basically playing with these APIs for up to 5,000 calls for free each month. So next, we have the location-based service. This is basically the set of features that I just mentioned: the maps control, the search, the routing, traffic, time zones, and geolocation. So these are REST services. This means that you can basically invoke these REST APIs from any language, any platform. In fact, we have the map controls. As I mentioned, we have the web SDKs, and basically this can be embedded in any JavaScript code. So basically, as part of this maps control, there are different styles and different capabilities that the web SDK support for this. So we have the search of point of interest. Basically, we have more than 100 categories. We have hundreds of subcategories as well. You can look for different nearby point of interest. You can look for, depending on the, let's say, a set of addresses. And you can look for basically routing options from this point of interest and so on. So talking specifically about the search service capabilities, we have the, these are like the different functionality that you can get a search and address, basically get the GeoJSON of some specific address. You can also do the get search address reverse, which is basically, if you have the latitude and longitude of some specific location, you can get what is the nearest address from that location. We have the batch call, which is basically, as I mentioned before, you can call up to 10,000 address in a single API call. We have the different categories, nearby, fuzzy address. If you are not sure for what you're looking for, you can basically call this. And to talk specifically of how can I start with this, basically we have a demo environment that you can start using, and you can take a look at the source code. So let's jump on that. The first thing that we have here is the link. It's part of the, it's in the description of this presentation. This is basically the sample gallery for the web SDKs. So from here, if you're interested in some specific functionality like search, you can look for this one and start basically exploring the different features and gallery samples that we have available for you. So let's take a look at this one. Basically, this is an auto-suggest using jQuery to have validation of an address. So from here, I can look for, let's say, one Microsoft Way. And you can get basically suggestions on that address that I just typed here. If I select this one, you can see that basically it calls the search APIs, and it returns the GeoJSON of this location. This means that I don't have to worry about what is the street address, or what is the city or the county, state, the zip code. That is basically included in the JSON file that I'm getting as part of the response. This is great for also implement address validation in your forms. So this is one of the examples. If I go back to these basically the samples that we have, you can basically see, for example, this one, get the nearest point of interest of a set of address. This is great for a use case where, let's say, you have different stores in the different part of the country, and you would like to analyze what are the nearest point of interest that you have closest to these stores, to analyze which one sells more depending on where is the location of that. So this is just one of the multiple use cases that you can find there. We have a lot of point of interest depending on how you're moving into the map. So if I basically zoom out, you can see that the point of interest are loaded as I move in the map. If I zoom out at all, basically I don't get like any of the point of interest. As I zoom in and move the map, basically I will be loading this point of interest. And as you can see, there are many colors here. That's basically depending on the category of this point of interest. So let's say if I select the green, I get a description of what is this point of interest. So in this case, this is a cafe, this is a book shop, and so on. So these are another example. Let's say if I want to look for a point of interest along a route, I can do that. So let's say I am going from Seattle to Redmond, and I'd like to look for pixel places along the route. So these are the blue points that I have, like pixel places around that. So as you can see, basically I can deploy different functionality and mix this with other features, like in this case for routing. Yeah, basically you can explore these different functionality and different capabilities and use it basically in your applications. So next, I like to talk about the routing as the one that I show. Basically, you can have like point-to-point or different points up to 150 intermediate points to look for address in the part of the routing service. Here, basically, you can have set of directions to go from one point to another. You can calculate the route depending on the type of vehicle. If it is a biking, walking, truck, or a car, that basically it's calculated. It can provide you basically route optimization. So you have like multiple points and you would like to calculate which one is the best route to take from this matrix of addresses. You can look for that. And yeah, talking specifically about what provides basically these route search capabilities. You can see here basically it supported the truck, electric vehicle, departure time, type of routing, type of vehicle as well, and so on. So if we do a demo of this, let me cover the capabilities in the documentation. So if I go back to the website, here we have the Azure Maps documentation. In the part of reference, you can see that we have the REST APIs. So if I have here basically what are the different features that I'd like to see, we have the search, we have the routes service. You can see here we have the get route directions, get route range, post. Get and post are supported in most of these APIs. You can see here as well, you can take a look at the different basically samples codes that is in the documentation. You can see how you can implement this in an application. And if you want to see a more concrete sample, you can go back to the Web SDK samples and look for a route here. Sorry. And you get all the different samples that we have for routing. So we have from basically control for animation, like in this case, we have a GPS tracking, animate along the route. We have the car versus truck. So basically this one provides, you can provide the different details of what type of vehicle you're driving and what is like the scenario. In this case, it's flammable load. And it can give you basically how will be the car versus truck route in this case. We have the basically weather along the road. We have the elevation along the road. We are going to talk about those scenarios with those features later. We have the basically waypoint optimization. In this case, we have 7 points in the map. And if we calculate the route, basically this is a simple route of these different basically addresses. You can see that the distance in order is basically up to 145 kilometers. If we optimize this waypoint, basically it will give us what will be the best address or will be the best route to follow in order to optimize the distance. So in this case, basically it's telling me that I have to follow this path in order to reduce 91 kilometers instead of the 145. If you are interested in how to deploy this solution, basically we can go to the source code. In this source code, you can see that basically is on GitHub. All of these samples are hosted in GitHub, are open source. And the code is documented. So basically you can see, in this case, we are starting first with the waypoint addresses, and we basically create like the map control. The get map is basically what you use in order to load the web SDK, the Azure Maps web SDK. There are two types of authentication. In this case, we are using the Azure Active Directory. So basically, we have an API providing tokens to this web. This is the recommendation in order to use the most secure way and not expose any key of the service. However, if you have like an internal application, you'd like to use the Azure Maps without worrying about creating the authentication with Azure Active Directory, you can just paste your subscription key here, and basically use the authentication through the key. However, as I mentioned, the Azure Active Directory is the recommendation, especially using cores to block, like basically exposing the token that you have. Next, basically, we have the maps events. So in this case, it's adding a data source and then basically adding the different layers. You can add multiple data source and add multiple layers depending on what is the scenario. And from here, basically, you just need to bet the logic and the calls to the different REST APIs, services, and more. So as I mentioned, basically, all these scenarios are hosted on GitHub. So I'm inviting you to take a look at the different repos that we have here for these samples web SDKs. All right, continue with the slides. We have the traffic. Traffic is basically updated every minute, and it is providing as well basically details of incidents.
Hey, David, I wanted to mention as well, so all the links that we have that David is showing here and any of the other links that are going to be in the show today, you can find them on our show page at aka.ms/thelaunchspace. And specifically for this show, you can find it at aka.ms/thelaunchspace. Azure Maps Creator GA. It's a little bit long, but hopefully easy to remember phonetically. So thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Yeah, and let me know if you have like any question from the attendees. I was talking about the traffic service. So the traffic is great to combine it with the routing service. So you can have basically calculated route with the traffic data. And this also provides you what is the flow of the different vehicles in the some part of the cities. If I go back to the web samples that we have here, we can look for traffic. And you can see basically in this case, for example, this is an immediate traffic flow. So it's basically providing where is the traffic going right now, in which direction in some specific part of the city. So as you can see, basically you can deploy this logic. If it is like a highway, in this case, this bridge, basically it's providing what is the traffic flow from one side and then the other one. You can basically show what is the traffic along the route as well. So in this case, it's basically calculating a route from Seattle to San Diego. As you can see, basically these points are the one that basically there is like a jam. In this case, is 24 miles per hour, and so on. So as well, basically you can take a look at the source code for how to deploy these samples. There are other kind of animations you can do, traffic controls, traffic control options if you want to embed that controls into the map, and so on. So these are some of the features that you can combine with the route. As well, we have the basically traffic and routing, the one that I just showed before. We have the weather service. This one is provided through AccuWeather, as I mentioned. It's basically you can get up to 45 days of forecast, and these are the different capabilities that it supported. So you can get the daily forecast, basically hourly forecast, minute forecast, the current conditions, and so on. This you can combine this solution with the routing as well. So if we go back to the samples that we have here, we'll look for weather. You can see, like in this sample, you can select any point in the map, and it will give you basically how is the weather condition in this site. Right now, for example, in Seattle, we are at 24 Celsius. Go back to Mexico, it's 23, and so on. So these are another example of how you can deploy weather inside the map. But you can combine it with, for example, the route. So you can get how is the weather along the route. In this case, let's put Seattle to Colorado. And let's calculate the route. As you can see, we have 2 points here. So this one is providing basically what's happening in this specific area. If we have like some specific alert conditions, we can have like this basically points. And it can provide you basically how, if it is raining or snowing or something like that, basically you can get alerts on this part of the route as well. All right, so going back to the presentation, we have the special operations. This is great for doing a special analysis on some geofencing. So basically, if you have like machines, then you would like to analyze how is the different movement that these machines are doing, or if you want to control that the machines basically start in some specific part of the map, you can create a geofencing. And basically, this can provide the analytics on this special operation. We have a sample, and the link is here in this link. Basically, this is simulating device telemetry, and this is using IoT Hub and Event Grid to calculate basically the device telemetry that we are getting from the simulated vehicle. And we are having an Azure function to call the geofencing API for the special analytics operations that we have in Azure Maps, and it is providing basically metrics depending on how these different devices are behaving in the geofencing part of the map that they have. And then this is basically storing all the information in the blob storage. These are like another use case that you have for using Azure Maps. Next, we have time zones. As I mentioned, basically, this is another example of the different APIs that we can call. So we can combine this with the basically with the routing as well. If we go back here to this site and we put time zones here, we can get like what is the time zone where the user is located. For example, in this case, if I get my time zone, it says that basically I'm located in the United States and I have these 3 time zones. As well, we can combine with the different route controls and more. All right. We go back to the presentation. We have the IP to location. That's basically, as I mentioned, getting the IP of some specific user. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Hey, great, thanks. I just wanted to say, if anyone has any questions for David, we're going through a bunch of different demos. Just make sure and pop over to aka.ms/learntv, and you can interact with us there and ask questions. Also, for all the links, aka.ms/the-launch-space Azure Maps Creator GA. So I just want to throw those links out there again for those who might have joined. Excuse me, one other point I want to make. So I noticed that it's warmer in Seattle than it is in Mexico, but then I realized that the weather you were calling out was in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And of course, people may not know it's a higher elevation, so it does tend to be quite cool there. It's a surprise to a lot of people. But anyway, a little bit of trivia there, but I'll let you get back to it. Thanks. aka.ms/learntv to ask questions.
Yeah, it's sunny here in Seattle. It's 76 Fahrenheit degrees. So yeah, enjoying the summer while it lasts. Yeah. Then we have the Elevation API. By the way, this API just became GA last week. So for this feature, what you can get is the elevation point from any part in the globe. It's basically the use cases is that, for example, in the agriculture industry, if you have like some specific planting or farm or something that you would like to analyze the elevation point of that, or if you have like basically towers that you need to control for cell phone coverage, things like that, you can use this Elevation API for that. If we go back to our sample gallery and we have the elevation here, you can see we can analyze like the bounding box or get the elevation for some specific location, or even get the elevation along the route. So this is great if you are basically doing biking and you would like to calculate how is the elevation on some specific route. So in this case, you can get how is the elevation in meters from the sea level. So in this case, this is a bridge. So it's basically saying how is the elevation there. For the bounding box, basically, you just need to enable this and select some specific part in the map where you would like to analyze how is the elevation in that case. So, sorry, I activated that before. Okay. Let me go back and move to, let's say, some specific part of Mexico City. Where I'm here. Yeah. Let's see, this seems like elevation. So let's put it there and just create like a box. And this will call basically the elevation API, and it will tell me how is the elevation in terms of the elevation over the sea. As you can see, basically in this part of the map is basically marking that the elevation is different from this, and basically we have the whole elevation from the green point to the red point. So there are different ways to calculate the elevation, and as well if we go back, we have here like the different kind of controls that can use for the elevation. So we can create 3D elevation profiles, the bounding box, path gradient, and get the elevation from any specific point as well. Cool. Okay, if we go back to the slides, we just did the elevation demo. We have the maps control. Basically, we can have different styles rendering. If we go back here to this and we put like different map styles, we can get what type of maps are supported. So what type of visualization I would like. As you can see, we have the image satellite images as part of the maps. So you can see how this one looks like. We have the grayscale. We have the grayscale, the different kind of styles and visualization that you can do. So these are just part of the customization that you can have as part of the map controls. We have symbols, we have icons supported in the maps controls, and so on. Next, we have the basically visualization for Power BI. So this is supported in Power BI Embedded, Power BI Web, which is basically the Power BI service, and Power BI Desktop as well. These are basically the set of controls that you can use in order to visualize data for Azure Maps inside of Power BI. We have as well support for geospatial features in Power Apps. So this is for the low-code, no-code development. It's basically just drag and drop. You can create the same type of animations and styles that I just showed using the Power Apps basically studio. And next, we are going to focus in on Azure Maps Creator. So as I mentioned before, Azure Maps Creator allows you to store private indoor map data and convert your own floor plans into basically indoor visualization for your own maps. This is a use case for smart building solutions. So the Azure Maps Creator provides a conversion service for your CAD files, and then you can basically render and query and use all the different features like the weather feature that I just talked about into Azure Maps Creator. So basically, this will provide the whole render and special query API, and SDK will allow you to integrate with the web SDK. There are like some integrations with other Azure products like digital twins in order to basically connect to the different sensors that you have inside your building to visualize it in the maps. So basically, the different use cases that we have here is the indoor map data management. We have the live maps, as you can see here, and we have the basically occupant experience. So if you have like sensors in your buildings and you would like to have basically what are the different thermostats that you have and how is the temperature in each room, if the meeting rooms are occupied or are available, you can basically set up that kind of experience. Yeah, it's great to provide basically the occupants of the buildings this kind of experience. Brian, do you have?
Hey, how you doing? I was looking over here because we have a question on YouTube developer channel. This is where I look over here for that. For anyone who wants to join us for questions, please do go to aka.ms/learntv. We have one question from Andrew McCallum in the UK. So thanks, Andrew. Hello, and thanks for the question. He was just asking how this product compares in terms of use and functions to MapPoint, the older product that we used to have for this. I'm thinking in general, it's my answer just off the top of my head would be, well, that's more, it's not a cloud-based product, but I'll let you take it from there.
Correct, that's right, yeah. Basically, this is a cloud product, so it is through the Azure subscription. So you don't need to install like anything, just go through the Azure portal, create the account and start using the APIs. So if I am sharing the screen here, I can show you how you can create this Azure product. So for Azure Maps here in the portal, you just need to provide what it will be the name of the service, where is the subscription here. Whoops, this is weird. Sorry. So many
around
pictures that now I don't remember which one it is. Sorry about that. Okay, Azure Maps. From here, I can create it. Cool. I know. Yes, this one. All right, and I just need to provide a name. Something that I would like to mention is that this is a global service. This means that you need to specify which region are you running it. We have a new pricing tier. This is the generation 2. We used to have the generation 1, which is S0 and S1. S0 basically provides limited capabilities, and the limit was 15 queries per second. The generation 1 S1 basically removed that limit and provides advanced features, but it is more fixed in terms of the basically the pricing that you have. The generation 2 is more dynamic and more flexible. Basically, you pay less if you consume more transactions per month. So definitely the recommendation would be to go with generation 2 pricing. For this, I will select the generation 2 and just click on create, and this will create basically the account. And just in terms of seconds, you can see here, basically, I will be able to use the different Azure Maps features and services. So in order to use Azure Maps Creator is a feature part of the Azure Maps. So I just need to create the resource. In this case, I need to provide what will be the location, and I will select the West US creator name resource. In this case, will be creator demo. The storage units, this is important to mention that basically I will be converting my CAD files of the building that I have into basically the private indoor map. So I need to specify how many storage units I'm going to use. this case, for basically every storage unit will be 100 megabytes. So I'm gonna just select one and click on Review Create, and that's it. We'll be able to use now Azure Maps Creator. Basically, for Azure Maps Creator, we are not charging until August. So if you want to explore this service, you may want to do it now until August, because it will be free. So it will not be consuming any of your Azure credits that you have.
Yeah, get in there and start using it. Go nuts, and then be careful around August.
Exactly. Yeah.
Microsoft is very good at warning you that there's going to be some charges coming up. Though in general, there's not going to be any surprises. But it's great that they have this free tier for at least a limited time. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's it. Basically, you can just go back to the resource and start using the Azure Maps Creator. And for the Azure Maps, as I mentioned before, for the authentication, basically we have the client ID if you want to do it, the Azure Active Directory authentication, or we have the primary key if you want to authenticate through this. If you basically would like to start exploring the different, let's say, samples or the APIs that we have, if we go to the documentation and let's say I'd like to try let's try something that I didn't show was how to get the location API. So in this case, for example, if I go to Postman, and in Postman, I create a new environment here, put it here. I just need to specify, sorry, this is not putting the, I want to get this one. This one includes the subscription ID. So if we go back to Postman, put it here, this one. Now we have the subscription key. Let me go back to the Azure portal, copy this one, and go back to here. Sorry about that. Now we will be able to just specify an IP address. So let's get any random IP address. Let's see. Try this one. So now this is basically an IP address, and yeah, this is telling me where is this basically located, in which country. This is just one example how you can use the API and how easy it is to start with the Azure Maps Creator, in this case using the shared account. As I mentioned, basically for public apps, the recommendation would be to use the client ID and leverage the Azure Active Directory authentication. All right. Going back to the Azure Maps Creator workflow, basically this is how it works. You have your CAD files, you have the data service, so you store the data of the CAD files there. You have the conversion service in order to leverage the maps capabilities. So we have the data set service. This will provide the tile sets, so you can load the visualization of the maps. You have the feature state API, and this will basically use the render and the dynamic styling APIs for leverage all the different map functions in your private indoor map. Brandon will do a demo about this. So hand over to Brandon.
Hey, so David talked about Azure Maps Creator, and it just went into general availability less than 2 weeks ago. So this is a good page to check out, if you want to get started with Creator. What I'm going to show here now is a demo application to show what you can build with Azure Maps along with Creator. So what we see here is a base map that shows, all the usual map data that you would see. And as you zoom in, you'll see different layers of additional data showing up, like road information. And as you go in, you see points of interest. And when you go in more, you'll see a indoor map outline. And when you zoom further in, you'll see the different units of a indoor map. So you can see here, there's rooms, restrooms, restaurants, and so on. And these are styled, with different colors to kind of show the different categories of rooms. And you can connect IoT solutions to your indoor map data. So I'm going to show an example here. Let's say you have sensors in every room that shows temperature information. So you can turn that on, and you'll see different colors show up for different rooms. And these will map to different temperatures that you see here. And if you have some additional sensors that show occupancy of a room, you could add layers on top. For example, I'll turn this occupancy layer on. And you can see here, it'll show that there's 10 people in this room and 5 in this room. And these are just additional layers that are built on top of the base map and the indoor map. And these are kind of built off of the samples that David showed earlier. And if you notice here is a kind of a blinker. This is also another layer that's added on the indoor map. And you can see that this is saying that there's an alarm because the back door is open. You can show, for example, the position of a person in a room, or, something like this where someone needs to know where things are relative to a floor. So yeah, this is just a sample application of what you can build with Azure Maps and Azure Maps Creator. Now I'm going to go in and show kind of a walkthrough of one of our demos. And this is something that you guys can try out afterwards yourself if you want to start playing around with Azure Maps and Azure Maps Creator. So David mentioned that there's different services in Creator where you upload your data, create your data set, and so on. And here is a open source project where you can upload your CAD drawing, and it'll go through all the different services and produce a HTML map file that you can use. So I'm going to just show that right here. And this is basically the README file for the open source project. And this is a good place to start if you pull this down. And all of this is basically executed using one command right here, which takes your subscription key and the zip file of your drawing. Oops. Go. So I'm going to run that command here. Subscription key. I'm going to come back to this window that David showed earlier. So this is your resource, Azure Maps resource. And Azure Maps Creator or any other Azure Maps services that you use will use the same authentication method. You have your shared key authentication and Active Directory. One thing to point out is you can always rotate your keys here by just hitting this button. So I'll just rotate this key, for example. So if your keys ever compromise, or if you're doing a demo like I am, for example, just make sure you rotate your keys. So put that in here. And I believe I need to give my zip file. I have a sample zip file here, which I'll add in. Oops. One second. One second. Sorry, hold on. Let's see here. Let me try this. Okay, there you go. So yeah, this is going to run through the different services. So while this is running, let's dig into the what's in the actual zip file itself real quick. So if you open the zip package, it contains all of the CAD drawings that have the floor plans of your building. And then it has a manifest file, which describes those floor plans and also allows you to provide any additional metadata for your facility. So I'm going to open up one of these drawings real quick so we can just take a look at it. Okay, so here's a sample floor plan. And one additional thing to point out is if you notice there was multiple drawings here, each one of these represent one floor of a building. So if you look at this building, there's different CAD layers here. For example, furniture, outline of the building, units, which are just the individual units of a floor. And then you have walls and additional zones, which are kind of artificial boundaries that you might define within your facility. And I'll take a look at the manifest real quick. So here in the manifest, you can see that there's a directory info, which talks about or basically shows the information of this building. For example, address, hours, phone number. And here it shows the different levels. In this building, there are 3 levels, a basement, a ground floor, and a level 2. And you specify the CAD drawing that corresponds to each level.
Hey, Brendan, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt a little bit. Is it possible to make that screen a little bit bigger? It's hard to see on the smaller screen.
Sure. Is that better?
Beautiful. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There or bigger is great. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And then here you'll notice there's a Geo Reference, which tells where in the world this building is. Your layers, we'll dive into this a little bit more, but basically this tells what CAD layer to find different things. So there's a CAD layer called walls, and it says that these are where all the walls will be at. Notice that this is an array, so if you have multiple layers of walls, all of that could be defined here. Additionally, there's unit properties. For example, if you have multiple units, you can see that, for example, this one is Joe's office, and this is the unit name. You have additional attributes that you could define, whether or not this is navigable by wheelchair, machine, pedestrians. You have category names, and this is how you differentiate the different units. And yeah, there's a bunch of other properties. Let me pull up our ontology real quick. So, 1 second. So this is our ontology here, and it basically is a model for how we see a facility. And in the ontology, we have what we call feature classes, which separates things like units, levels, walls, and things like that. And then for each of those feature classes, you have properties. So here's unit, for example, and you have whether or not a unit is routable, the occupants of the unit, and a bunch of other properties here. And what we also have is a relationship between features. So for example, if you have a unit, it has a level ID so that you can find all the levels in a facility and all the units within a level. Okay. And as far as the package requirement, there's another link that we'll share here. This basically goes through and tells you, what the requirements are of the CAD drawing and how to put the manifests together. And on this page, you'll also find a sample drawing package that you can use. And you can just download that right here. Okay, let's check on that real quick to see how it's going. All right. So right now it's generating the tile set, so we'll come back to this shortly. So let's dive in and look at each API a little bit and kind of just see how they work. And before I go into that, we have our API documentation here under Creator. We have the conversion service, dataset, service, feature state, tile set, and WFS here. So if you need to look up the documentation of each one, please reference this page. So earlier, David mentioned that we have a upload service, which is where you can upload any private data that you have to use with Creator or Azure Maps. So here, for example, is where I'm just uploading my sample package. And one thing to keep in mind is our APIs for all long-running operations are asynchronous, so they'll have a similar pattern. So here you would upload the package. You'll get back a operation location here. If you put this location or check on that location, you'll get a status. So for example, here, it'll show that the upload was successful. And you can grab the resource location here, which contains a UDID of the data that was uploaded. That would get passed to our conversion service, which accepts basically your drawing package here. And the output of this will be pulling all of the features from the drawing and storing it as individual features. So from one drawing to your floors and units and so on. So the conversion service, you can see here, it took the UDID from the upload service. Right now, what we're converting is a facility and the ontology that I specified earlier. So it's a facility 2.0 ontology. And you can check on the status of the conversion and shows that it's succeeded here. And this is the resource location of that conversion. And you can use that to check the details of a conversion. So here, let's see, you can see that the conversion was completed using this data upload here. And these are the features that were pulled out of your drawing. So structures are what we call walls right now. And we have directory info there. There's 3 floors in the building. It's 1 facility. There's 190 units. Okay. And from this conversion, you can create a data set, which is essentially the place where you store all these features. And you can interact with these features using the web feature surface. And the data set service is just like the conversion, where you would pass in your conversion ID, check on the status of it. Once it's done, you can check on the details. So you can see that basically the same things from there kind of just went into the data set. And we can take a look at the web feature service query API. For example, here, I am asking for all the different collections of that data set. And the data set ID is right here. So I can see that there were units, structures, zones, levels. So these are all the different feature classes in that data set. And then there's the tile set. Yep.
Sorry, we have about 5 minutes left, so I thought maybe we should check back on that demo, see how it's going.
Okay, sure. Let's see. Okay, yeah, looks like that demo is completed.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, since we're short on time, let's jump into that real quick and just show what the output looks like. So let's see here. So once it completes, you'll see that there was a Azure Maps data.json file that was created and a maps.html. If you look at that JSON file, you'll see all the IDs of your upload, your conversion, your data set, and your tile set. And let's open up the map real quick. So here you can see that from this CAD drawing, we have an indoor map that's drawn on the map control. So yeah, all that took was just one command here and your drawing package.
Sweet. So nice. It's amazing to me that this gets generated so automatically. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think just with a couple of minutes left, I think we should dive into the questions, and we'll refer to folks if they want to check out the documentation. They can check it out online. All the links that we have today are at aka.ms/the launch space Azure Maps Creator GA. And you can find all the info there. We did have one other question, which was, how can you interact with Power Apps and the Azure Maps GA? And the answer, David, I think you mentioned there's some spatial capabilities in Power Apps for now that do access the API, and I'll let you take it away. I'm answering the question again.
Yeah, correct. So we have documentation in the Power Apps site. There is a blog post how you can basically add the Azure Maps functionality to look for an address and embed the map control. So we are putting the link as part of the description. Yes. And yeah, that's basically the integration of Power Apps with Azure Maps.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Brendan, for the demo. That's awesome. I love the way you can just generate a map that is interactive and works on multiple levels with just an AutoCAD source. That's pretty cool as well. I mean, it's something that AutoCAD used to be the final product. Now it's the base for other products, which is very cool. So, yeah.
And by the way, AutoCAD is one of the products for it. The other one is QGIS. And yeah, there are others, basically CAD tools that you can use.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I just want to thank Brendan and David. Great show, great demos. Love the info. And if you want to have any more info, aka.ms/the Launch Space Creator GA, or sorry, the Launch Space Azure Maps Creator GA. I'm trying to shorten it for some reason. Anyway, thank you very much, and we'll see you the next show. So next week we have a show that's coming up the week after, actually. which is, you can check the show page at aka.ms/the1space for more details. So thanks again for everybody, and thanks for joining, and we'll see you at the next show.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Thank you.